not our pop figures out of Unit 1 into Unit 2. And how about a little bit of Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and you know who, all right, not half.
Do what, sorry?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. That's a beautiful background and well done. There's a lot of things I want to talk to you about today, Mr. Phil Dave. A lot of stuff.
Is one of them about green screen?
No, I'm not talking about living green screen on air. What a faff. But it seems to work, and I'm pretty pleased with it. And I'm using all the new equipment and the new beautiful MacBook Air. So
we've gone 21st century on this program, I'll have you know.
I can't believe it. I've even got internet. I mean, what the hell? What the hell?
And how you cope with the pace of life.
Phil, let me throw a match into the vast bonfire soaked in petrol.
Oh.
How do you feel about people who say, how dare you wear a poppy because it glorifies war?
How do I feel about it?
Question number one, boy.
I think anyone who says that doesn't deserve to live in this country.
I agree with you. Well, where can they go?
I mean, what else can I say? And I'll tell you why I say that, by the way, just in case anyone thinks I'm shutting.
Hey!
Oh, there you go. Almost. In case anyone thinks I'm shutting down someone else's argument and say that no one's got the right to think the way they want to think, blah, 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 freedom of speech. I get that. But let me make it very clear. If someone is that stupid that they don't realize that the sacrifices made during the Great War and ultimately the Second World War meant that they were able to live in this country and say and think how they feel, then they are even more stupid than they come across.
They are stupid. They are stupid, brainwashed people. And the whole thing about having a white poppy, no.
No, thanks.
Poppies are red. Stop it.
Violets are blue. This is the way we remember. So you.
Here's the thing, right? Stop reinventing history. Just stop it. Julie Voice in Houston, we wish you better. Got a chest cold now. Don't get that on Radio 4, do you? People don't phone in and, you know, like Brian, I don't know who does it anymore. I don't listen to Radio 4. And it's like, you know, and up in Doncaster, we wish somebody with a chest cold better. You don't hear that.
The time is just approaching 11 o'clock here on the home service, and we would like to wish Julie over in Houston a very speedy recovery.
A two-way family favourite.
That's just ahead of the Archers.
Just ahead. Leslie Demeter's favourite programme. Yeah, I just don't understand it. From Houston, I love it, really. It's becoming an American show.
I don't know why we bother. Should we just go over to America and see whether or not we can't make it big over there?
I would leave in a blimmin' heart. Feeling good this morning, Grit. Why? Elizabeth, why are you feeling good? I'm not. Not, actually. I don't know why. I'm really just not. I'm not sure what it is. Something's out of kilter.
Today is 11:11. And so, of course, when it was 11 o'clock this morning, I did observe the 2-minute silence. It was very strange to me because normally I'm better prepared. I'm not in public. I'm normally in my own little private space, and I just have the thoughts that I want to have at that time of day. However, this morning, I was actually stuck on a train. I was quite impressed, actually. The carriage I was in, they did observe it. They were silent.
Did they?
I don't know whether, well, no one else stood up, which irritated me. But I don't know whether or not that, and the train was stationary, I should add, by the way, just in case you think I'm being completely heartless. The train was at Euston Station. It hadn't left yet. It was due to leave at 3 minutes past 11. So I think people could have stood up if they really wanted to, and they just didn't. However, I stood up, middle of the carriage, eyes shut, you know, sort of shoulders stretched straight and that kind of business.
The Neil Long arms.
And I was a bit annoyed that I wasn't actually in a better place, and I don't mean that in the way that cliches use, you know, that we use in a cliche way now. Oh, I wish I was in a better place. Shut up. No, I wished I was in a more suitable. I wished I was in a more suitable location in order to be alone with my thoughts, but I wasn't, and it was quite odd for me.
I think some of the people, I'm going to get on to Stop Oil in a second, they once had a thought and it died of loneliness. Here's the thing. Yesterday on Twitter, and I haven't discussed this with you, so it's coming at you absolutely raw, like WWE with Triple H. Right. So yesterday on Twitter, some idiot gets onto the road and is standing there like this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about the banging. It's my dead relative trying to come back. I don't know what it is. They're doing work. Right. So So this turns out to be a girl. I couldn't see. It's nighttime. And she's standing there like this, like the holy martyr that she wants to be. And
like this, not like that, like this.
Like that. And someone from way across the other side of the street throws a traffic cone. It's a hell of a shot. Throws a traffic cone. I'm not talking about a narrow street. It looked like sort of Albert Bridge or something. It was a big, wide, and the cone, with this extraordinary shot, bang, hits her on the head, and the silly cow goes down. So I posted that, and I said, "That's the way you do it." I can't remember what I did.
Did you say that was a silicone implant?
So, yeah, it was Conehead, Cone Man the Barbarian. Anyway, we can do all the gags, and most people agreed because I'm sick of it. They're sick of it. Most people in their right minds are sick of these fanatical lunatics who have drunk the Kool-Aid, who, of course, are contacting each other on mobile phones made from oil, wearing trainers made from oil.
Throwing paint. Oh, fun enough. Guess what's in paint?
No, it's made from unicorn poo.
Oh,
anyway, and some people attacked me. It was the worst personal attack. I don't give a shit, to be honest, but it was the worst personal attack I've ever endured on social media. And one guy just went nuts, and I blocked him because it was so offensive. But I did say, I'm going to sue you for libel, because what he said was absolutely libelous. But he was too stupid and thick to understand what the libel was. The anger that these fanatics have is incredible, and the hysteria. And where do you stand?
The problem is that these morons are allowed to be angry. Now, in years gone by, what would happen if someone was behaving in that sort of fashion? They'd be shut down. They'd be told, not okay, behavior unacceptable, and they'd fight fire with fire. Now what you have is a police force completely and utterly terrified to stand up to these.
To do anything except go on a diversity course and paint their cars in rainbow colours.
Absolutely. They're too terrified to stand up to these cretins. And when they do go up to them, what do? They start feeding them and patting them on the head and saying it's okay.
Get hold of them, drag them off the sodding road and shove them in jail. That's all that needs to be done.
And then the audacity when members of the public do that, and they get into trouble for grievous bodily harm.
This is the bear trap. This is the minefield which they are banking on. They are banking on somebody like you and I might be taking a relative to hospital. You might be going for a chemotherapy treatment. You might be going for a flight for something important. All right. And it doesn't have to be important. We don't have to justify it to you at all.
I was going to say, I don't actually think it.
We don't have to justify.
Who is to say what's important? If someone is going about their business, it obviously means something to them.
If I was on my way to hospital, or think of an ambulance, and one of these idiots was there, I'd get up and do it. Now, the thing is, of course, that's what they want. They want to be a holy martyr on their way to Calvary. That's what they want. And if the public do anything, it'll be the public who's addressed and arrested. But as you know, Phil, and we've said very often, I'm sorry to rant about this, but it makes my blood boil. You know, as well as I do, that nature abhors a vacuum. And if we don't have a police force that is willing to act and uphold the law, people will take the law into their own hands, and it's their fault. Sorry, it's entirely their fault.
Yep. Can't think of a better way to put it. Well, there's no other way to put it. It's true. Lawlessness is going to breed lawlessness. It's as simple as that. Get a grip now. Don't wait. Don't sort of think to yourselves, oh, it's a breach of their human rights. No, to hell with that. For crying out loud.
It's not their human right. It's my human rights to drive along the road. Now.
Exactly. It's the human rights of those people who are trying to make their way to hospitals or whatever appointment they're trying to do.
It's not the same human rights. It's only their human rights. Several things I found out yesterday because it fascinates me. How do these people get paid? They're actually paid. They reckon there's probably 150 of these hardcore nutcases, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm aware of the language I'm using, considering I'm the co-founder of a mental health radio station. All right? These people are not well. I think some of them are seriously not well. The hysteria you see from that idiot on the bridge, this is pure hysteria. This isn't logic. This isn't thinking. This is pure hysteria. So how do they get their money? Several things. Some of them are on a salary. Oh, yeah. On a salary. A lot of them get expenses. And you think, where from? two main sources. One is that awful Svengali Corbyn lookalike twat who spouts absolute hysterical nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Do you mean Hallam, whatever his name is?
Yeah, Hallam.
Did you see the latest thing from him within the last 24 hours or whatever?
I can't. It wasn't the last
24 hours, actually. I lie completely. I think it's a bit of an older clip now. But it was, he starts talking about how when eventually the inevitable happens with the climate crisis, how gangs are going to break in and start raping women. Have you heard about this?
Because they start with him, because he's an idiot.
What in God's name is he talking about?
He's nothing.
How dare he be so disrespectful? I think he's mentally ill. Women who actually have.
Sorry, I think he's nuts. He's either. What is his agenda? What are all their agendas? And he, by the way, is linked to a load of these other insane fringe groups, right? There's a woman. You heard of the Getty family, obviously one of the richest families in the world. How do they make their money, Phil Dave? Your starter for 10, no conferring.
Photographs.
Oil. Oh, Getty Images, very good. I get it. Getty. One of the women in the family basically went mad, and I'm going to just say it. And she worth millions and millions and millions and millions, and she donates to all these fringe groups around the world. Not spotting the irony that all her family made their fortune from oil. Let's look at some comments coming in. I'm sorry. Here we go. Would you like to read some of this?
Leslie Ian Jones, I told police over 4 years ago at local police panel meeting that the further they moved away from the public, the more a vacuum would be created, which would suck in all sorts of crime. So I agree with you, Russ.
And then we've got up in Fife in Scotland, not America for once. Unfortunately, this is Sue Sleet, and we wish Dave all the best, of course, her son. Unfortunately, the police don't have the support of most of the public or their bosses to support them in dealing with protesters. That's not true. Sue, I disagree with you. It is the loud screaming numpties on social media who decry the police. The average person is perfectly happy for the police to drag these twats away. What have we got here? Please only bother. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah. Police, this stems from what we were discussing. We discussed a lot on the ABC of CBD, our 100th edition next week. Very excited. Police only bother if you use medicinal herbs. True crime doesn't get a look in. It means they have to do some actual work. Do you feel they're lazy? Do you feel they're completely hamstrung by the endless paperwork that they have to do? Or they just don't care?
I don't know whether or not it's laziness or whether, I think there's a combination of things, actually. I believe that there's more encouragement to deal with lighter crime because there's less work involved.
Sure.
I think that there is an influx of wokeism within the police. And by that, I mean people who are very liberal in their views, have slowly but surely crept into the police forces across the country and become the majority of officers. And as a result of it, what you're seeing is sort of a major breakdown that's happened over a period of time where no one has thought to get a grip on. You've had successive police commissioners who have ignored what's going on in front of them. There's just no other possible way.
Because they're political appointees and they just deal with the politics. They don't deal with what they're there to, I'm sorry, maintain law and to maintain order. It's not just a buzz phrase. It actually means something.
And to anyone who says the police are underfunded, well, yes, I don't agree for a second that the police should have ever had the numbers cut in the way they did. There were 20, you may recall, one of the first things under the first wave of austerity after the crash in 2008 was to shed 20,000 police officers.
Yeah, that's
so there's 20,000 police officers who are off the streets, out of the offices, and not helping whatsoever in trying to deal with crime. And now, of course, you've got the government who are celebrating the fact they're putting 20,000 more police officers out there. Well, hang on a second. You're replacing the ones that you've cut. And not only that, you're now talking about a load of new wave police officers, which as a result of it, have not got the same experience as the 20,000 you axed in the first place. So actually, it's not like for like at all. It's really irritating and frankly, quite a ridiculous comparison. However, you can't change what's been done. It can't go sort of going back and clawing those police officers who were let go back again, unfortunately. But what I do think could happen is you give more rights to the police community support officers. Do you know they can't even arrest people, to the best of my knowledge? Isn't that ridiculous? police community support officers.
Minor technical crisis.
I don't think I'm wrong with that, but so forgive me if I am, but I don't believe I am. That police community support officers do not have the power to arrest people, but they could arrest them as a citizen, if you see. So they could do citizens arrest, I guess. But what's that, for crying out loud? Give police community support officers more powers. Give the police less paperwork to do. You don't need officers to do paperwork. As far as I'm concerned, all you need to do is you simply dish it out to administrators. You know, if you actually have a need for paperwork, record it. We've got voice notes now. So literally just record it into your phone, send it off to somebody. There are ways around it. You don't need the police to sit in front of the machine, spending endless time filling out forms. Get them out there, get them fighting crime. And I'm sorry to say it, bring back restrictions in terms of who can actually join the police. I don't want to see a police officer who is as short as me. I'm sorry, I just don't. Right? That's not a police officer, in my humble opinion. You need someone who is of tall stature, of strong build, who is actually able to enforce the law. And the emphasis on the word force, right? It's a police force. It's completely ridiculous what has happened to the people who are supposedly charged with the responsibility of maintaining law and order.
Well, if they don't, you're going to get vigilante gangs. I didn't tell you, I live in what is, Lloyd, I'm not going to read your comment out because at the moment it's a little off piece. Hilarious, though it may be. But it's not germane to what we're discussing. But the answer is no. Completely lost my train of thought now. Carry on. Sorry, completely lost my train of thought.
There's the Ian Jones. My grandfather was in the police force during the 1920s to the 40s. He has a truncheon and a heavier unofficial enforcer, which made his beat quieter than most.
And then Ian Oakley says, Leslie, exactly my point. No disrespect to your grandfather. But that's now lawful from a man upholding the law. Do you mean that's not lawful? Not sure I understand that comment, to be honest with you. I wouldn't like to try a citizen's arrest. I think I've been wasting my time and it will end up being my fault. What I was going to say is
I'm sorry to say, in this day and age, someone would just laugh at you anyway. They wouldn't even laugh. They'd smack you around the chops and walk off.
Oh, of course they would. Here's what. There was no doubt. No doubt. I'm dealing with the Metropolitan Police, and I'll come back to what's happened in my area yesterday. That the Metropolitan Police were horribly corrupt, as Private Eye said when I was at school. The Met Police, the best money can buy. They were horribly, horribly corrupt. That's not conspiracy, it's just fact. And there's so many documentaries and books about it. There was absolute institutional racism. They did not like people of color. They treated women like garbage. None of that is okay. But when the pendulum swings so far that they're like, I don't know, they're like a St. John's ambulance, unless you stray into a bus lane, obviously, because then you should just be shot summarily. It's not good. The pendulum's got to come, Well, Ian Oakley's right. Watch some of those documentaries. Corruption is fed from the top. Of course it is. Yes. And what have we got here? This is an interesting. Now, yes, but criminals respected force. Hardly any carried weapons lest they hang. Well, there you go. That's true. What's this, Philip?
Elizabeth Green says, I had a policeman friend here in New York. Not tall.
So strong,
so strong, probably. Could have stopped anybody doing anything. 5'7". Elizabeth, I get it. I'm not saying that, but I'm not suggesting that someone who is my height can't be strong. I'm sure they are. But what I'm saying is that there is something about the aesthetics of looking at someone who is tall in stature, who is enforcing the law. Think of it a little bit like schoolmasters. I don't know about you, but for me, I always had respect for the taller schoolmaster because to me, they look down on me and were intimidating. It's just
at these 7 schools you attended.
Yeah, all right. It wasn't at 7 schools because I didn't behave properly.
I'm going to put up Beanie's thing, and then I've got to say something which is really not good. This is from Beanie, who is now finally back in the United Kingdom after ending up in hospital in Los Angeles with long COVID. I actually thought I was going to lose him. He is my oldest and dearest friend, and I actually thought I was going to lose him.
Can I just say, Beanie, when they heard you came back?
For the benefit of deluxe listeners, says this is going to be a men's radio station Christmas party for all your regular contributors and correspondents.
No.
Prepared. He's showing his age. I'd be prepared to pay up to 4 and 6pence. 4 and 6pence. Do you realise 90% of the people watching and listening to this have no idea what 4 and 6pence is? No, but no, not a clue. The answer is no. Now, I live in the poorest borough in London. I'm not doing a pity party. It's just the fact my borough is incredibly poor and underfunded, etc. Oh, that's sweet. Look at you. You got cash. You won't let them take you. You won't let them take you down. What about me? So the Stop the Oil protesters.
I'd forgotten how much money stinks.
I like it. Dirty money. I like the smell of money. Here's the thing. So the protesters went along. Now, these are not posh streets. These are seriously, well, God, look at it, Mr. OCD. These are serious
OCD,
class. These are serious working class streets. The population has not changed. It has not been gentrified. I'm not talking about Mount Street in Mayfair. I'm not talking about Westminster. I'm talking about a very poor borough. Okay. They slashed the tires of several cars, slashed them, and left Stop the Oil notices and things under the windscreen. Had they done that to me and I'd have found them, I cannot say publicly what I would have done, but it would have undoubtedly involved violence. How dare they? They think that that's acceptable to go down where cars are legally parked on a working class street and slash their tires. They've got to pay for those repairs. One woman panicked so much she drove away and has ruined not just the tire, but the rim. How dare they?
The bottom line is that whichever way you look at it, they are causing criminal damage.
This is going to end very, very badly.
And I can't for the life of me understand why people, rather than actually sort of clamping down on these morons, they're actually filming them and giving them publicity. I actually find myself irritated by the fact we're even talking about them now, because that's what they want. They want publicity.
Yeah, of course they do. They should be ignored.
I would sooner that we have from here on in, not just on this station, everywhere, a total blanket ban from talking about or even mentioning their actual organization's name. Because you don't need
Did you see there was a huge crash on the M25 because of them? People injured.
Surprise me.
People injured. Lorries smashed up and people
I did hear about
injured because of them.
But they don't care. There was a representative.
If somebody's killed, they should be done for homicide. There's no ifs or buts about it.
Of course, there was a representative from theirs who came on to another station I work on this morning, who said that they have. The wording was, "It's regrettable. We have to do this."
Regrettable.
Well, yeah. Number one, you don't have to do it. Yeah. And number two, if you find it that regrettable, don't do it. That's just as simple as that.
They don't care. They're fanatics.
Of course they don't.
They've all drunk the Kool-Aid.
Colleague of mine brilliantly described them. They're eco-terrorists. There's no other words to describe them.
That's the point I wanted to make. I was watching one of your colleagues, a guy I rather like, with a little salad wouldn't go amiss. You know what I mean? And but I like him. And no, I say that for his health, not because of aesthetic reasons. For his health, that's all. Because he seems a very nice guy. He brought up on screen under the law, what defines terrorism? And he went through, and I wish I could have had the thing and put it up on screen, but I can't. Point by point by point of what is counted as terrorism in the United Kingdom. In other words, what you have to do to have broken the law and be deemed a terrorist. They ticked every single one of those laws. Every single one of the things that then constitutes you as a terrorist. That's what they're doing. They're not protesters. They're not protesters. They're terrorists and need to be dealt with in the same way. End of. End of. Or is it just one rule for them and one rule for everybody else? So why is it, if you're going to do that, then just say it's fine to carry a knife. I mean, how far are you going to put it? Just say, well, you can carry a knife if you want to. We don't mind. They're mad.
Well, on that, by the wonders of modern technology,
Bless Leslie.
I have for you.
I gather you didn't like the Ibsen or whatever it was. I can't bear those Scandinavian Ibsen and I'm not crazy about Chekhov, and I certainly don't like Ibsen. So I'm glad I wasn't your plus one. Right.
Let's have a look. Terrorism.
Yeah.
The Terrorism Act 2000 defines terrorism both in and outside of the UK as to the use or threat of one or more of the actions listed below. I won't read the next paragraph, so I'll just read those. Serious violence against a person.
Yes.
Check. Serious damage to property.
Yes.
Check. Endangering a person's life other than that of the person committing the action. Check.
Yes.
Creating a serious risk to health or safety of the public or a sector of the public. Check. And action designed to seriously interfere with or seriously to disrupt an electronic system.
Check. Yes.
What's that if they haven't done that to the trains?
That's exactly what they've done. What they mean there is of course, hacking. But yes. Yes.
They've done it all. They've done it all.
That's weird. I've gone out of phase. That's so weird. What's going on there?
You can't keep up with yourself.
How weird is that?
Oh dear.
Why have I done? All right, I'm coming out and I'm going to come back. What the hell?
Oh, bye. Okay. You wouldn't get this on Radio 4, would you?
I'm back now.
Are you? How's that working for you?
Better. No, that's the wrong way. Jesus, what am I doing? Let's lighten the mood. I can't help it. You know,
this is the Today program from BBC.
No,
Radio
let me
4.
tell you why this. Let me tell you why I brought this up and discussed it with Phil today. We set up MRS for mental health and well-being. This shit is affecting me because I'm so angry and I feel so impotent to do anything about it. And it's affecting a lot of people. A lot of people's mental health. So it's not a political statement. I don't care.
Well, I mean, it's mildly political, but let's not stress it. But I'm not being funny. Let's not worry about that too much.
Is there the Labour Party, is Keir Starmer saying, yes, I think we should have more of these idiots? Who the hell? I give up, honestly, I swear to God. I am so ready to emigrate. Don't give up. I am so ready to emigrate. Just go somewhere. I've really had enough of this crap.
Okay, bye. Anyway, now let's welcome...
No, you're horrible. I've never liked you. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her. You love her.
Be upstanding.
She's the queen.
Not the first time I've saluted today.
Don't hear about your love life. It's Chantal.
Hello. Gosh, the mood is very somber in the studio today.
Well, I got to tell you, it's just that we're fed up with it. You know, where do you stand on it?
Well, I'm with you. I think they can protest in a different way. I think the way they're protesting at the moment is not helpful to their cause, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, at the very least, that's the whole thing, is that the more they carry out this action, the less support they're going to get from the public, which to me strikes me as bonkers, because surely you want power in numbers. If they're all for trying to sort of win the cause. And when these morons, and I'm sorry, I can't think of any other, I can think of several other words, so I can't say them on air, but when these morons come out with these things such as saying along the lines of, when they say things along the lines like it's exactly the same as the suffragettes, no, it's not.
It's not the same.
No, it is not the same as the suffragettes.
And here's the point.
That's what you cretins have the right to vote, for starters. So
here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Kimmy's making the point that other people have made. If you're so brave and you're so worried about pollution, go and stand outside the Russian embassy and the Chinese, mostly the Chinese embassy. Go and stand outside the Indian embassy, the Pakistan embassy. Of course they won't. Might be a bit dangerous, wouldn't it? Wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Wouldn't we?
No, but actually, it would be a much better way just to chain yourself to their railings, because you're making the point. You're getting publicity, but actually not disrupting everybody else in the country.
Perfect.
So,
if they want to chain themselves to railings, I'm all for that, because then it means that the cyclists have got nowhere to leave their bikes, and that works for me as well. So it's a double win. So I don't mind that at all. But as far as I'm concerned, stop blocking the roads. And also, what morons? Why the hell would you say yourself on the Dartford Bridge? The Dartford Bridge gets blocked up without you there. What the hell's the matter with you? Go and do somewhere else. The typical
lovely British way, they were firing firework rockets at them. And I know I shouldn't condone it, and I'm never condoning violence.
Okay, that's a bit dangerous.
Obviously, it's dangerous.
Yes.
And not
Obviously, it's dangerous. Whereas climbing up the QE2 bridge, of course, isn't dangerous. And when they fall off and damage themselves, and the NHS has to look after them, and we're paying for that,
I'm sure there'll be
Where's the
someone
problem
hugging a
in that?
tree and paying them a beautiful tribute.
Yeah.
screw them. Right. What have you found in your fabulous?
Oh, aren't we
sorry.
forgetting something?
We are.
It's time for this. Oh yes, we love TV.
Hello. Have we lightened the mood?
Just by
We've lightened
you,
the e-cigars.
Just by seeing you as lightening the
Oh,
mood.
bless you.
And over in Hampstead, Lloyd Beanie will be he's probably brushed his hair, he's probably put on a suit, he's probably got 2 glasses of champagne. Oh, he can't drink champagne.
Oh,
But
you
he's got
have
2
the
glasses of
approval.
water, 2 glasses of non-alcoholic beer ready, just in case.
Kimmy Lashmar says, loving Chantal's hairstyle, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks. We go to the same hairdresser. Can you tell?
I've been going to the same hairdresser for 35 years. Yeah, she knows everything. It is one of those relationships. She knows every single thing about my life, which is why I'm not going to
get her on the show.
That
Phil,
must
get
have
her on
been
the
really
show.
irritating.
Get her
when
on
you
the
were in
show.
LA.
We want to know.
Did you have to keep
Phil,
flying
did
back every week?
Phil misunderstood when you said you were growing out your fringe. I think Phil misunderstood the message. What can you do?
Whereas with me, my fringe was just going out.
I think, you know what? I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this. I've known Phil for years, and I think what he did was brave. It was courageous, and it was liberating. And it was liberating, and everybody still loves you as much as they always did.
Oh, thanks. I have to say, ring lights don't like me very much. Look, I'm a bit of a walking beacon, but if you overlook that, it's fine.
I know, a bit shiny, but make you
I'm very shiny. It drives me mad. I wouldn't. I mean, I could actually. Maybe I could go. Actually, you know what? When they build the 3rd runway, I'm going to go get a job at Heathrow because I could land the planes.
You could just be a beacon, but you are our beacon of hope.
Indeed.
Thanks. Excuse me while I'm sick.
Yes.
Right, Chantal, we interrupt. Carry on.
Try and be nice. You try and be nice. Gets thrown in your face.
No, but what I really want to know is, I'm not sure. I can't quite remember from this time a year ago because I know we'll have discussed it. Whether you guys watched The Crown or whether you don't watch
I watched it when it was set back in ye olden days, and I really enjoyed the historical aspects.
Yeah.
I think it is far too intrusive to do the modern stuff. Okay. That's just my view. So I've stopped watching it.
For me, I actually sort of only really watched the first 2 series. I tried the 3rd series, got into it a little bit, and then I just thought, no, I'm not enjoying this as much as the first 2 series. So I think the first 2 series were brilliant, and I would urge anyone to watch them. Yeah. But I do think that as it's progressed along, it's kind of got to a stage now, and especially now where it's just becoming too sensationalized. How can I put it? I think that if anyone is going to agree to do a drama based on the royal family, you're asking for trouble at the best of times. But there's one heck of a difference between based on fact and inspired by true events.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a bit of a problem, is if it's based on fact and you're reenacting it, bring it on. As far as I'm concerned, I'm fairly sure the royal family will tell them themselves. There's enough drama without having to hype it up a bit and recreate it.
Yeah.
Just tell it how it was. And this,
I was listening to a podcast this morning of Emily Maitlis, who's the former BBC correspondent who did the interview with Prince Andrew that sort of finally saw him off. And she was talking about a 3-part drama that is being made about the interview. And so clearly she is, the other character in this interview. She's been sent the scripts and she was describing that she was looking through the scripts this morning. And there was a scene whereby, her husband greets her at the front door when she comes in the evening and the dog bounces up. And she was there with her red pen going, no, the dog never comes to see me at the front door. I'm not going to allow them to write this. And then she thought, no, actually, that's the sort of stuff that I've just got to let go. But she said if there are things that were of real factual significance, she's going to say no to them. But the other stuff, she's just going to let slide. So it's rather interesting when somebody's actually making a drama about you and you have to make those decisions.
Can you imagine? There's a new movie coming up.
Why do you think I object to Die Hard?
Well, I never say yippee-ki-yay, says Phil. I don't smoke. I don't have a lighter. Anyway, so there's a new film coming out, which is another approach. It stars, bizarrely, Daniel Radcliffe, who went to the people who buff up all the A-listers and Chris Hemsworth and everybody. And so he's ripped, although he's a little guy, but he's ripped. And he plays someone that I have admired. I know if Beanie's listening, he will love him as well. Weird Al Yankovic. Now, Weird Al Yankovic, you've heard of him, right? Phil probably has no idea. Weird Al Yankovic has sold something like 12 million albums.
Yeah.
And he does, if you don't know who he is, for the last 35, 40 years, he has parodied songs and made them huge hits, 12 million albums. And then the albums themselves get a resurgence. So Beat It, he made it Eat It, and silly things like that. But the videos are brilliant, and he's brilliant. So it's a biopic.
Oh, okay.
Except nothing is true. Because Weird Al Yankovic saying, oh, let's make it surreal. You know, let's put in every stupid trope that they always do.
Yeah.
Right. And keep the tropes in so everyone goes, oh, it's just like, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, it's just like that Elton John thing, deliberately, and nothing about it. So Weird Al Yankovic, who is in real life, as most very exuberant people are, very quiet, incredibly polite, hardly drinks, doesn't do drugs, never has, is portrayed as this drug-taking, coke-snorting, boozing, violent guy. And everyone's going to go, ooh, that's the joke. It's a joke within a joke. Anyway, there you go.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, I thought I should mention The Crown. As everybody else on the planet is talking about The Crown this week, it would be a bit weird if I didn't. So I've rattled through the first 3 episodes. I will probably finish the whole lot by the end of the weekend. It's 92 to 97 now, so it is getting close to where we are in real life. There is only going to be one more series, and then that's going to be
is Shirley Bassey playing Meghan?
Very funny.
Sorry.
Such a
gold digger.
Oh dear.
The grifter that's after gold. All right, sorry, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now.
No, honestly, don't worry.
It's one of those days.
There are definitely bits of the royal family story that actually, even now with 20 years distance, you just think you want to put your fingers in your ears and you just listen to it. Most particularly the Camilla Gate tapes, which all of us would like to forget that we'd heard. Actually, we did hear them. And then when I watched the scene on telly a couple of nights ago of the Camilla Gate tapes, I just wanted to hide behind my sofa. I mean, I literally wanted to block up my ears. I thought, I cannot go through this again. It was bad enough the first time round. But actually, it's still...
If only I was a sanitary product.
Oh.
Honestly. I mean, it's shocking. And he's now the king. So somehow it's even worse when you hear the voice. But we've got a new queen. We've got a new Diana, who is the Australian actress Elizabeth Debicki, who was in The Night.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah,
You've met her. You've met her. She's 28 feet tall.
She is 28.
Because she was in she was in The Night Manager.
She was.
And I was driving you mad to introduce me, and we never did because I was 5,000 miles away for a start.
And she's rather good. I mean, people I think are saying that they think she's a good Diana.
Okay.
It's sort of difficult to know because Diana did a lot of the sort of the head tilting and the looking up through her eyelashes, and you just think, well, any actress could do that.
Yeah.
And of course, physically, Elizabeth Debicki is the same, but she's not nearly as beautiful as Diana. So that would be my one little criticism.
Well, it's interesting. You met Diana, I'm sure, several times. I met Diana several times. I was fortunate enough. And here's the thing. Elizabeth Doohickey, as I always call her, when you see her, she's incredibly attractive. In The Night Manager, she looks sensational.
She does.
With Diana, when she walked into the room, if you examined her feature by feature by feature, it shouldn't have worked. It's a strange thing. She did not have a beautiful face. Somehow, it all meshed together. And I have to tell you that when she walked into the room lit up. I can't explain why. But it really did. The room lit up. It was like a beacon sorry, Phil, had turned on, and that was that. But if you analyze her features for what is seen as classic beauty, she wasn't, you know. But
and she did have enormous charisma.
Oh, incredible.
Massive charisma.
Incredible. Yeah, she was, but she was beautiful in the sort of the widest sense of the word, and incredibly difficult. She was no saint. She was incredibly difficult.
Well, it goes over again the whole Andrew Morton story, because at the time we didn't know she'd been feeding that information to Andrew Morton. It's only with hindsight that we know that. So some of those bits become more real in a way, because even though you're reliving them, you feel as though you're getting extra information about what was really going on at the time.
A very close friend of mine who was going to remain totally anonymous and nameless was her press secretary.
Go on.
No, I can't. Was her press secretary.
Yes.
And nightmare. A nightmare.
Oh dear.
I have to have security. I have to have anonymity. I have to have anonymity. You've got to keep it private. You've got to keep it private. She walked in and saw her faxing. That's how long ago it was. Faxing. I will be at such and such a place, you know, Asda, top floor by the yogurt, whatever it was. And it's like, you've told everybody you've got to have an anonymity, and you're faxing the information out. So there's always two sides to every story. But I wish she was still with us. That's all I can say. I do wish she was still with us.
No,
she was great. Like all of us, hugely flawed. We're all hugely flawed. So well, that's life. That's how we are.
Yeah, and indeed, she did suffer from a mental unwellness. So one has to give her some allowances, I would suggest.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. And what you know, before everyone gets terribly upset, she was 19. Innocent, and walked into what she thought was a fairy tale, and turned out to be a fairy tale design, you know, created by Quentin Tarantino. It wasn't. Anyway, there we go.
So for fans, it's back on Netflix. 10 episodes, taking us from 92 to 97. Lots of you know, frills and spills as ever. Royal marriages breaking down, the fire at Windsor, the start of the Dodie fired story. Interesting stuff. It feels quite bitty. It doesn't feel as though the through line is as good as it has been before, but it's still, if you're a fan, it's worth watching. You'll find it on Netflix. It'll be there forever. So that's this weekend taken care of. And then a couple of nights ago, I started watching something incredibly good called The English, which is not a great title. But it is
unless it's got the word full in it, and Phil and I are having breakfast.
Yeah. Not a great title, but it's how we were viewed by the Americans in 1890. They would talk about the English coming over. Yeah. So we're off to Wyoming, 1890, and the star cast is led by Emily Blunt, who's also
we like her
producer. And she is an English woman who arrives in the middle of the Midwest. There is a story, we don't quite know what has happened to her, but we know that she is trying to find the person responsible for the death of her son, but we don't know any more than that. She falls in with a Native American who is a traveler. He has been a scout for the military, but is no longer a scout. So he was a Native American scout.
He was great with knots.
Great with knots, exactly. And
what, landing?
Boom, a joke and a joke on top.
But he was also traveling. They meet as travelers, basically. He is traveling to Wyoming to reclaim land, because anybody who fought for the American military at that stage, who were Native Americans, were then allowed to have a piece of land. Whether they got it or not was a different matter. Precisely. But they were supposed to get land as they left the army. So this rather great young actor who's in the Twilight Zone called Chesky Spencer, who's somebody I didn't know, very, very good as this Pawnee ex-scout Native American. And the two of them fall in together. And you can see that there's going to be an understanding between them, but that's not where it starts. It's quite bloodthirsty. There's quite a lot of sort of, mud and thunder going on, or blood and thunder going on. It's
quite a lot of mud, I would have thought.
Indeed, quite a lot of mud. It's very slow at the beginning, but you absolutely get drawn into it. It looks beautiful. And Emily Blunt is a lovely actress.
She's good, isn't she?
Very good, yeah. She's a rather.
You know what fascinates me, Chantal? You know what fascinates me? Ever since I was a kid, and I've always loved westerns. I have a terrible, joking aside, I have a terrible sense of direction. So when they're riding, they go, "We're following, mad bad Phil Dave, and he's 2 days ahead of us." And they get on the horse and they get a posse. How the hell do they know where they're going? There's no roads. There's no road signs. No protesters. Apart from an arrow through their head. How do they know where they're going? It's fantastic.
I always thought they used to follow the direction of the wind and stuff like that, because they know that winds from the east and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the stars. They were all trackers. And actually, I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this before, but there is a theory that because most of the cities or towns are 22 miles apart in America, particularly in the Midwest, that was the distance that a horse could travel in one day.
Yeah, that's right.
What would happen is they'd all go off in great wagon trains, but then some of them would settle at the end of the day, having gone 22 miles the previous day. So a lot of the cities and towns are all 22 miles apart.
It is, I know I was brought up on westerns. I absolutely adored them, but I just was fascinated by the space that they covered, the stuff that they endured, and those settlers from the east, where it was pretty comfortable and relatively modern, right?
Yeah.
And then you're heading west. You don't know where the hell you're going. You're on a wagon train for God knows how long. Yeah. I mean, months. It was so brave.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, our age group, Russ, were brought up on westerns. It's what we watched all the time on television. Sure. And actually, it's very rare now to get a western. So younger people really don't have much understanding.
Well, you've got they've done a great job with Yellowstone, with Kevin Costner, because that is effectively a modern western, but it's great. It was really gritty and interesting. Yeah.
Anyway, it's really worth watching. It's on the BBC. It's just come out. It's 6 episodes, 6 1 hours. It's on BBC Two, but obviously clearly on the BBC iPlayer as well. And it's definitely worth watching. Don't expect it to rattle through quickly. It's more considered. It's more interesting than that. So try it out and see if you like it. But it looks great. And Emily Blunt is terrific.
And remind us the name is The English, yes?
It's called The English. Terrible title.
Shocking. Anyway, shocking. They still hate us. They pretend they love us, but they if you watch, I watch no British TV. I watch all American stuff on YouTube, which is like on the YouTube channels, which are shows really. And when you hear them discuss us, dear God, if they don't throw in tea in the second sentence, and and then note Boston.
But it's sort of interesting, slightly brings me on to the next documentary I was going to tell you about, which is that America doesn't quite understand its own history any longer. And there is a one-off documentary that's, again, on the BBC iPlayer, that actually is called America, Faith on the Front Line. And it's basically how religion has been politicized in America. And if you're, even if you're not massively interested in American politics, this is a really interesting take on the influence that has been brought to bear in Washington by the religious right, as they call them now, the Christo-fascists, which is, going some...
What do they call them? The Christo-fascists?
Christo-fascists.
I love these new phrases. There's one a minute. It's marvellous.
Julie Voice has sent an interesting message. She says, I was brought up with Rawhide, Gunsmoke and Bonanza. I shudder to think of the state of your bowels. Seriously. Great. How the hell you're still alive is amazing.
I loved Bonanza and the High Chaparral.
High Chaparral. What is it? The Gunman. Branded. Oh, God, I was crazy about those shows.
I know. Well, there were loads of them.
They were just marvelous. And they were great stories and good acting, and they looked fantastic.
Anyway, so America, a country that is not supposed to have religion written into its constitution, and indeed doesn't. There are now, in fact, a lot of Christian right are saying that they want America to be a Christian country, to be recognized as a Christian country. And they absolutely see that anybody who is not following Christianity is from Satan, is part of Satan. I mean, this is a real thing. I mean, I don't think we should treat this too lightly, but it's a fascinating documentary, even if it's not really your thing. It's just a piece of information that's sort of worth knowing, and it just helps color or gives you some understanding as to what's going on in America, why they're in a tricky place, I think. Anyway, there we are.
Can I ask you a question? We've both lived in America. We've both worked in America. Phil's been there. The midterms. I'm not.
The country I've been to the most, other than the UK. So there you go. That'll be.
Yeah. So I'm not. This is just a quick aside.
Yeah.
The midterms, which I have followed minute by minute by minute.
Me too.
The red wave became a red trickle, as Greg Gutfield, who I keep suggesting to you, Greg Gutfield say it's like a guy with a prostate problem. Trust me, I'm with you, Greg. Got the number one late night show. It didn't materialize, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah. So of course, for those that don't know American politics like you and I, red for them is blue for us, and blue for them is red for us.
Yeah.
So yes, it wasn't the rise of republicanism in the way that they thought it might be, and it really wasn't fully suggestive that if Trump came, that Trump should put his name in again, because it's sort of beginning to indicate that people don't want to go back to Trumpism. But
the dream ticket, I'm just going to say it once and then I'm going to shut up.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis and Carrie Lake would be the most sensational dream ticket.
Wow.
I'm obsessed with Carrie Lake.
Yeah.
And can you tell me this, because you're queen of all media, in England, the voting, and by that night, you know how it's gone. You have a vote in the morning. Your local church opens up at 7, closes at 10. Boom, all night. By the morning, you know what's what. They can take months over there to count the votes. What?
It's
months?
Yeah. So I think George has already declared that there is going to be a revote there, and that will happen in early December. So I mean, it could go down to the wire as far as that. So at the moment, it's a bit of a stalemate, and everybody's still counting. We'll see what happens.
What is extraordinary, you've got these huge number of people, hundreds of thousands, and the difference, for example, with Carrie Lake and the other, I've forgotten the name, the incumbent Democrat, is minute. It's only like 49 to 50 point something percent. It's absolutely like that. How it can be so. Oh, hang on. No, not having that. She absolutely isn't. She isn't. And I have listened to hours of her speeches. She's not a fruitcake. You may not like her, but she ain't a fruitcake.
Yeah. Former television presenter.
27 years as a news anchor. So she treats the media. She knows. She's like you. She knows exactly. She gets asked a question. Boom, it's back in their face. It's phenomenal.
Oh, she's
never seen a politician. Oh my God. Never seen a politician so articulate and understands how to get the crowd on her side. In terms of marketing and everything that we do, it's a masterclass.
Yeah.
There are very few things that I would like to see revolutionized, but I do find it staggering in this day and age. And I'm a stickler for tradition. I love tradition. I think it's very sad that a lot of things have been abolished as a result of modern technology. But I cannot understand for the life of me why on earth we still rely on paper voting system. Most people have access to smart technology. If someone doesn't,
because it can get hacked. Because it gets
votes can get rigged. I promise you. If someone wants to rig a vote, they'll rig a vote.
Well, that's what they're saying.
So interestingly, last night I was with a colleague who is an American, and he voted in Colorado. No, his wife voted for him in Colorado 10 days ago. I said, "What do you mean your wife voted for you?" And he said, "I asked for a postal vote, but because I was away, she signed it for me and she sent it in." And I thought, this is incredibly mysterious.
Unbelievable.
So I said, so what happened then? And he said, by the time that he landed in Colorado last Saturday, there was already a letter back saying that the signatures don't match. We see that you sent it in, which is fine, but the signatures don't match. So you've now got to go online, and then you have to do an auto signature and numbers and letters and goodness knows what to agree, if you like, or to validate the original vote. And I just thought, well, yes, I'm really pleased that there was somebody there doing the double checking, but the idea that you can send in a postal vote with somebody else's signature on seems absolutely crackers to me. Anyway, there we are.
It's extraordinary. And the other thing is, the moment the voting opened, they started counting in, say, in Arizona, which is a state I'm following for a variety of reasons. 2 of the machines packed up straight off.
Oh,
it's like, you got one job, mate. This is the midterms. Get the machines work. No, they packed up.
Oh, yikes.
There you go.
Anyway, enough of America. I'm going to take you very briefly to Australia and Bombay. Interesting new drama, bit of a blokey drama, but it's rather good, with British actor Charlie Hunnam, who's very easy on the eye, who plays the part of an Australian bad guy, thief, robber, fraudster, who escapes from jail right at the beginning of the program. You think, oh, where's this going? Escapes from jail. You rather like him. There's obviously a backstory. He's been an ambulance driver and he's training to be a paramedic. So clearly you know that you're supposed to like the guy, but he decides to leave the country and get lost effectively in Bombay. Buddies up with a local guy who is a tour guide, and you can see that there's going to be a bit of a buddy thing going on between the two of them. They play it incredibly well, but it's all based on a book, which is based on a true story about this guy who lived in Bombay in 1980, I think it was. And the stories of what happens to him there, the thrills and spills he gets into, some crimes that he inadvertently gets involved with. But you sort of think you know that it's all going to turn right in the end. Anyway, I'm really hoping it does. I've watched the first 2 episodes. It's well done. It's a sort of, it's a thriller. It's interesting. It's buzzy. It's well acted, and it's worth a try. And it's called Shantaram. And it's on.
Please, you said that.
Yeah, Shantaram.
Wasn't that from the Bay City Rollers?
Shantaram.
Now, here's a question for you, who knows everything. This is from Kimmy, who says, I'm going to binge watch 2 Doors Down. I don't know what that is, but I heard it's not so good, this series. Do we know? I don't know what it is.
2 Doors Down is a comedy, isn't it, or something like that? I've seen it on the iPlayer. It's definitely a BBC thing.
Yeah.
Don't know it.
I haven't watched it, so can't comment. Sorry about that. But yeah, find some good comedy at the weekend, especially you two. If you're being in a miserable mood, the pair of you, you need to
just
find
concerned. We're not miserable. We're just concerned.
Right, 2 Doors Down. Yeah, it is a comedy. I was right, from the BBC. There you go.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Should probably have known that, but actually, I don't watch much.
You can't know everything. You're trying to cover 800,000 channels.
To be fair, though, what one's idea of comedy is in this day and age, and what my idea is, it's a very different matter now.
And your number one fan, the chairman of the Chantal Ricard's OBE fan club, watched Extraordinary Attorney Woo on Netflix. Oh, that sounds good, which I believe you recommended several weeks ago. What a wonderful series. Tad sugary, but absolutely original, wonderfully written and acted. Thanks for the tip.
Oh, excellent.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds great.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that.
Anything quick?
Very quickly, true life crime. It's on Disney with Jessica Biel. It's called Candy. It's I think it's the 1980s America. She's having an affair with somebody, and the wife of her lover ends up dead. And that's the beginning of the story. So it's extraordinary. She's great in it. She's really
Jessica Biel's great.
Yeah.
You see, I can't say she's easy on the eye because that's sexist and I would be a terrible person. But you're allowed to do that.
No, she's a good actress too.
She is a good actress. She's good. I like it.
And it's 5 episodes, and it's called Candy, and that is the name of the woman, and she indeed is Candy.
Chantal Rickards, thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
As ever.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not here next week, so I'll see you in a couple of weeks. You know this.
Chantal, was that overacting?
You know this, Russell. I've told you I'm off to.
Yes, I know, but I like to do overacting.
Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway.
Have a lovely time.
Yeah, have a great weekend, guys.
He's off to a wedding. You have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye, everybody, and try and stay out of trouble. I'll be back Monday, 12 o'clock with Neil Longy Long. And